Who said the Washington and Dallas rivalry is done? Wild, wild times in DC. It ain't even over, man. That's going to continue to happen. We'll talk about it here on Locked On NFL.
The barbershop is open and Tony Wiggins has a chair for you. He's ready with some real NFL talk. The local experts of Locked On bring their expertise, and Wiggy is ready with his clippers and shears. Sit down and enjoy. The new Locked On NFL starts now. Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Yep, that's right. Y'all come on in and slide into the barbershop. Welcome to the Locked On NFL PM edition. I am the host of the Locked On NFL show, Tony Wiggins, where we bring you the biggest stories with the help of local experts that know your favorites like no one else. Joined today, of course, by my man, Kevin Ostrich of Locked On NFL. And here's what we're going to go over today. G-Men in a bad place. We're going to end up talking about the G-Men, throw a little bit of Jets in, and ask, man, could he be anything worse than a football fan of a New York team? Right in the middle, 0-2 in L.A. That's my ode to Drake and Kendrick Lamar. We're doing a timestamp. Both teams in L.A. played at night, and they both lost. We're going to start at the top with Dallas and Washington. I'm going to let you know why I think it's still a crazy, crazy rivalry, and you guys saw it firsthand this weekend. But first and foremost, I have to let you know that today's show is sponsored and brought to you by FanDuel, where you can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Also, make sure you check out Locked On NFL on Amazon Music. Go on over there and listen to Locked On NFL on Amazon Music. Kevin Ostrich, what is happening with you? First of all, I heard you had the flu. Hope you feel better because Turkey Day is coming up here. You got to be able to eat.
Yeah.
And I would suggest just to eat, even if you can't taste the food, just go ahead and eat it. You know what I mean? That's just the way it goes.
Man, this is the holiday you look forward to all season, or at least one of them. You look forward to it all year with the food, family, friends, and man, here I am all sick, and we're recording this 2 days away, and I'm just like, what have I been waiting for all year? I'm looking forward to the sides. I'm looking forward to the turkey and everything.
Yeah, and man.
I don't know what my day is going to look like on Thursday, but
That's
I'm
right.
hoping I can eat something.
Just eat the food. Record yourself eating it, and then when your taste buds come back 3 days later, just say, well, at least I did it. I didn't enjoy it, but I did. I tell you what, we really did enjoy. We enjoyed a lot of football this weekend, starting with something that is, I'd say 45 miles up Baltimore, Washington Parkway from you. See, shout out to me for knowing what BW Parkway is. I used to live in PG County, and it's something I actually grew up watching, and that's the rivalry between Washington and Dallas. And I was able to peek in because Jacksonville had a bye. Oh, my goodness. It was wild, brother. It was super, super wild. I know you were watching because your team played later on that night. I'm just going to let the reaction of the guys from the Cowboys and the Commanders podcast show you exactly how wild this was. Listen to Landon McCool here with Locked On Cowboys as they finally had something good to cheer about before me and you get into it.
In a game that's impossible to recap in 60 seconds, the most surprising thing that happened was that the Cowboys did not suffer another loss. Hi, I'm Landon McCool with the Locked On Cowboys podcast in a game that featured an onside kick return, a kickoff return, an 85-yard touchdown pass. All that happened probably in the last 3 minutes of this game. The Dallas Cowboys somehow managed to pull it out and get a win, their first win since the Pittsburgh Steelers game earlier in the season. And how did the Cowboys do it? I wouldn't even know where to begin to tell you. The defense had an incredible performance. The offense struggled and was disjointed at times, but probably was the most efficient offense on the field this game. And then just a series of just absolutely insane things, like I mentioned earlier in this video, that happened at the end of this game. For more on this, make sure you check us out on the Locked On Cowboys podcast for a recap of this absolutely nuts game.
He touched on it. I'll recap it. Washington was down. It looked desperate. They threw not really a Hail Mary, but a pass where Terry McLaurin caught it and ran all the way for like almost 80 yards for a touchdown. Then they kick off to Turpentine, the kick returner for Dallas. He fumbles it, bobbles it, picks it up. Everybody goes to sleep and he runs for a touchdown, right? And, he did that first, and then Washington scored that touchdown, and then they kick an onside kick, and Dallas takes that kick and runs all the way back for a touchdown. I ain't never seen nothing like that. Have you seen something that wild in the last 3 or 4 minutes of a game?
I've seen Ravens Vikings back in 2013, 2014, where there were 5 touchdowns in the last 2 minutes of that game, or 5 touchdowns in the last 3 minutes of that game. Ravens won it with 8 seconds left, but it's been a while. I think the last game that reminds me of that, Wig, was probably was it the Vikings Bills game a couple of years ago?
Could have been. I think I remember something like that.
Right, where the Vikings like fumbled inside their own 1 yard line, trying to kneel out the clock, and the Bills got the ball back and they won the game. It's just like all these crazy games that we see, they don't happen as often as they used to, because it's, first of all, it's so rare. But then when it happens in a division game, a rivalry game like this, you got special teams galore, which is the reason you win and the reason you lose in this case is just unbelievable. We're all sitting there, and after Jaden Daniels hits Terry McLaurin on that long ball, you know, it's like, all right, well, he did it again. You did it again.
And Dallas is going to lose. You know what I mean?
And that's how it is. I mean, all you have to do is hit the extra point to tie. And Austin Seibert he's been injured. They were putting out Zane Gonzalez. It was his first game back. He was already a little shaky. He was having a good year, but it's like, all right, now he comes back in a high leverage spot, and he just absolutely. The thing with kickers though this year is they're all missing wide left. They're all going wide left. Tucker's doing it in Baltimore. Elliott's doing it in Philadelphia. McPherson, Younghoe Koo, everybody's missing left this season. It's been a bad year for kickers, and it's lost a lot of teams' games, and here we see it again.
That's a good point. I got to do a segment one day on kickers, because while it's been a bad, odd year and they're missing ones they shouldn't make, it seems like everybody's making 50-yarders like they're chip shots, like there's 2-foot putts these days, but they can't make the easy ones. Now we got to flip it over. Washington had been hot. The fans had been going, we want Dallas. And I really hope this makes people reinvest into that rivalry, because when I grew up, this was Pittsburgh and Baltimore. That's exactly what it was. And now, well, Washington, they've fallen on a little bit of a skid after starting out really, really early and really, really hot. It's still right now, if they don't win another game this season is a win for them. But listen to David Harrison of Locked On Commanders.
The Dallas Cowboys were shorthanded and underperforming, yet they still come away from the Washington Commanders' home stadium with a 34-26 win. This is David Harrison of the Locked On Commanders podcast, and despite having a clear upper hand on paper, this is why they play the game, as the cliche says, and the Washington Commanders were not able to take advantage of a Dallas Cowboys team that, honestly, coming into the week, a lot of people had said they had quit on themselves and quit on their coaching staff, and their season was ultimately done. It was just up for other teams to take advantage of it. The Washington Commanders not taking advantage of early takeaways. The fact that the Washington Commanders defense held the Dallas Cowboys to just 3 first-half points. Unfortunately, the Commanders also only scoring 3 first-half points. Second half had a lot more scoring despite some late-game heroics from Jaden Daniels and Terry McLaurin, still falling up short. Now they've lost 3 in a row, with the Tennessee Titans coming in to this exact same building next week, looking to do the same thing the Dallas Cowboys did. So a lot of questions to answer for the Commanders over the Thanksgiving week and weekend. For more on this and everything Commanders related, check out the Locked On Commanders podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
I hate to sound like a guy that believes in moral victories. Like, if you lose, right? And they're probably going to make the playoffs, and they're probably on the right track. It's just that for me, I didn't expect Washington to win 3 or 4 games this year, and now here they are winning 7 and being in these competitive games. Still no consolation when you lose a game like that.
Yeah, I think you said it perfectly, where it's like, you know, no, who expected anything out of this Commanders season? This was going to be get Jaden Daniels acclimated type of year, kind of see what you had. You could add more to the roster next offseason and kind of build the team you wanted to build, because it's always tough for a first-year head coach to come in there and completely get things the way that they want. Obviously, you can do a lot, but you really need a year to kind of fully assess things. Washington's been incredible, and so it was a tough loss, I think, mainly because of the fact that, one, it was Dallas, and we talk about the rivalry.
That's the main thing, yeah.
Dallas was so shorthanded, like David said there. And, you know, with no Dak Prescott and a team that has just looked lifeless over the last really 2 months. And, you know, you let the special teams do you in with the cut touchdowns. And so it's almost like one of those bad losses. And I know that, yeah, Washington's not taking anything away from it and saying, oh, yeah, we feel really good about this because, you know, our season, we weren't expecting anything. Well, now the expectations have shifted for them. And now this is a team it's you know, fighting for their playoff spot, but now Philly's racking off win after win after win, and it becomes more important that you do win all these games. So it's tough because Washington's a good team, but I still think they're a little bit a ways away from being that top Super Bowl contender, and losses like this show up.
Yep, they do show up. And now we have to go to Los Angeles, and that's where your team played last night. So we'll make sure that we jump into that. And we'll get more into LA and the disappointment for those teams, but the happiness for the teams that actually went out there. Two teams I think will make a lot of noise. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. Today's show is sponsored and brought to you by Skylight Frames. Listen, man, it is something to behold. Like Skylight Frames right now, especially for the holidays, man, it is something that all of us can use, because what it does is it provides you a choice for an all-in-one touchscreen digital picture frame that allows you to share photos with your loved ones almost instantly from anywhere in the world. Missing someone this holiday season and want them to be a part of your festivities from afar? Do your loved ones live far away but wish they could be close to you? Man, let me tell you, I was in the military, and when I was in the military, it always happens that you miss out on family events. It would be real easy to have something like this and really, really help you get through the holidays. So here's what you do. The setup takes less than 60 seconds. You invite friends and family to easily share photos via the free Skylight mobile app or email. And then, there's no account or no subscription that is required. And right now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NFL. That's SKYLIGHTFRAME.com/NFL. Get $20 off your purchase now at skylightframe.com/NFL. In today's show, sponsored also by our friends over at FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook, because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of the game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. Running it down with my man Kevin Ostricher here. Locked on Ravens, Locked on NFL, Locked on Squads. Kevin's everywhere, man. Kevin everywhere, right? You can find him with a flu right now, but he'll be all right. We're going to get him right and fatten him up for Thanksgiving. Your Ravens, they had you up late last night playing against the Harbaugh Bowl, if that's the way you say it. And I knew what I was going to see. I was going to see two teams pushing each other. You know how you see two kids? Well, y'all probably didn't do this because I'm young. They get on each other's chest and they go in a circle. What you gonna do? What you gonna do? What you gonna do? That's what I thought these dudes were doing last night, man. It's like it's toughness overload. Really, really good running backs, good scheme, but the team that is used to being tough won out in Baltimore. What happened in the game, man?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Ravens established their physicality early, and this was a bottom 10 run defense in Los Angeles, and Baltimore took advantage of it. It was a slow start for the Ravens for sure. And I feel like the Ravens they were so good at not doing this early in the season, but they've been held scoreless in 5 of their last 6 first quarters, which it's like they need a spark. It's like once a spark comes and like they get a big play or a big momentum thing happens, they're unstoppable. What was that? This game, John Harbaugh going for it on 4th and 1 from his own 16-yard line.
I'm sitting there like, man, what are you doing,
line,
bro?
Direct snap to the tight end, and Mark Andrews gets probably 1 yard when they needed a half a yard. So that was the biggest play of the game. Baltimore scored on 5 straight possessions, I think, to end the game. So it's like they need that spark. But this is kind of how it goes. And, me being an oldest brother myself, the oldest brother always wins. And John Harbaugh, 3-0 over Jim.
Are you a Game of Thrones guy? You remember Game of Thrones?
No, I'm not.
Okay, well, I'm going to tell you something. There's 2 brothers. They were on 2 sides of a war. And neither one of them wanted their brother to die. And Tyrion, this little dude, looks at his brother Jamie and goes, he knew Jamie was about to go head up against a dragon. He just goes, what is this idiot doing? And I'm thinking that Jim was probably looking at his brother and said, you know what, I'm going to tell Dad. What is this idiot doing? But it worked out for Baltimore. It didn't work out for the Chargers, though. And here's my man Daniel Wade talking about last night and how it went.
The Chargers had a chance to make a statement on Monday Night Football and show that they are contenders in the AFC, but unfortunately, they got a reality check instead. This is Daniel Wade here from Locked On Chargers, and the most disappointing part of the 30-23 loss to the Ravens was the fact that they got bullied. For the first time in his NFL head coaching career, a Jim Harbaugh-led team gave up over 200 rushing yards, and tonight it was Derrick Henry and Justice Hill getting whatever they wanted. And Jesse Minter's defense, which has been great most of the season, allowed 5 consecutive scoring drives, including 4 touchdowns, and 2 of those touchdowns being 40-plus yarders. The Chargers' offense, frankly, underwhelmed and had several miscues, including a couple of drops, but they just didn't have enough firepower to keep up once the Baltimore Ravens offense got going. I think the Chargers still are very much in the mix for an AFC playoff spot, but they showed there is still a gap between them and the top teams in the conference. But for the full game breakdown, make sure to check out the Locked On Chargers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
As someone who covers a team that is always in the hunt, I'm really, really impressed with the Chargers, and I'm being dead serious about this. They put themselves in a position to have this conversation after only one offseason with the new coach. That's why I think we keep playing around and talking about all of these different coordinators, and it's just a guy that's going to do the old school stuff the right way that's going to eventually turn them around, in my opinion.
Yeah, and kind of like what we talked about in the first part of the show with Washington, it can be very hard for a first-year head coach to come in and have everything be all tightened up and be on your P's and Q's and everything along those lines and have everything the way you want it to be. But it's been a great transformation job over in LA. And I think with another offseason, and even this season, they're not done. I think they're going to make the playoffs. They're going to be in the hunt. And we could very easily see if the Ravens win the AFC North, another Ravens-Chargers matchup in round 1. It could happen. And Khalil Mack said he wants that. So we're going to see how it goes. But I've been impressed with Los Angeles. I mean, Jim Harbaugh, obviously, he's a winning coach. He knows how to win. He's been in spots. He made a Super Bowl with the 49ers and obviously won the national championship over in Michigan in college. So he's someone that brings that culture over to an organization that I think desperately needed it. I mean, Brandon Staley and what happened over there, it's impossible to kind of think why he was even there for as long as he was.
Right.
And I know, especially after what happened in the playoffs, and I know, Wig, you're very familiar with what happened in one of those games.
27-0, man. 27-0, and they stormed back in Jacksonville. You're right. Now, a team that has had a lot of success is the Los Angeles Rams. They also hosted a game the night before, and they got beat by the Philadelphia Eagles, who have won 7 in a row, and all of a sudden you don't hear all of this stuff about Nick Sirianni. But I wanted to talk about the Rams because the Rams have overachieved. I thought once they broke their team up and they lost Jalen Ramsey and they lost Aaron Donald that they would fall off. They're a pretty decent team. They just play in a division where it seems like nobody wants to win it, and they're missing a few opportunities coming down the stretch, and they lost another close game or lost another game where they pretty much got pushed around against the Eagles. Listen to Locked On Rams.
Look, the Rams were just flat out outclassed and overmatched by the Eagles in their 37-20 loss on Sunday Night Football. Puka Nacua had 9 catches for 117 yards. He has 98-plus yards in every single game he's finished this season. But outside of Puka, no one stood out. You had a lot of D-plus, C-plus level games. They need A's across the board from a lot of their impact players to have a chance against this Eagles team, and they just did not get it. Everyone's talking about the Rams kicker right now, Joshua Carter. Yes, he missed another crucial kick. Yes, he might need to update his LinkedIn profile because he could be looking for a job soon, but he's not the one that was missing tackles on Saquon Barkley, letting Saquon run wild. Saquon was a one-man wrecking crew. He had 255 yards rushing. At one point before that garbage time drive by the Rams, he had more rushing yards than the Rams had total yards. He had 47 receiving yards, 302 total yards. I mean, he was an absolute beast. This Philly defense, they're elite. Last 7 weeks, first in EPA per play, holding teams to less than 14 points per game. I think we know at this point that this Rams team, they're far from elite. They can beat beatable teams, middle-of-the-pack teams, and occasionally keep things interesting against a top-tier opponent, but they were absolutely outclassed by the Eagles tonight on Sunday Night Football.
It's almost hard to complain. The team that you didn't expect to be there, they're there, but they're not really there yet. They got some work to do in offseason to make sure that they can take advantage of the fact that the 49ers appear that their window is closing.
Yeah, I mean, overachieving, I think, is the right word, especially because I think that, I mean, the injuries they suffered early in the season, they lost Puka, they lost Cooper Kupp, they were kind of scratching and seeing who was going to be available the next week. And I thought that they hung in there really well and put themselves in a position to stay in the hunt. Now those guys are back. And look, Philly's, Doug said it, Philly's a heck of a football team. Philly's elite. Like they are doing crazy things right now. Yeah. And so to me, I think that it's an acceptable loss. I know that no one ever wants to hear that, right? Mm-hmm. No one ever wants to hear that. Mm-hmm. But to me, this Rams team, there were a lot of question marks, especially early in the season. And I kind of thought, all right, well, they're losing all their guys. This is just going to be this is like a top 12 pick team this season. They're not going anywhere. And here they are. We're still talking about them as a team. Like, oh, this is a disappointing loss because it impacts a lot. Because you're right. That NFC West is just a mess right now. It's a mess. No one wants it, like you said. Now Seattle's just running the table and taking it over. But we could be talking again next week, and it's a whole different story.
Yep, Seattle could lose next week to Arizona or whoever they play because that division is so wild. You think that's wild? What about a football city like New York or Northern New Jersey or Southern Connecticut? If you're a Giants or a Jets fan, everything's going crazy right now. I'm going to let my girl Patricia Traynor, when we come back, I'm going to let her just go in probably a little longer than we normally let people go in here in the barbershop. But I think she has earned that right to talk about Brian Daboll and all of the mess that's going up in New York. And we'll finish it off talking a little bit about Aaron Rodgers and his team that he owns and is the GM for and the head coach for, and that is the New York Jets. We'll do that in just a second here on Locked On NFL. I have to let you know, though, today's show is sponsored by Hillsdale College. Don't be wasting time just thumbing through endless stuff online that doesn't really teach you anything. You can actually learn from Hillsdale College. Time is our most precious commodity. There's some of the things that you put in your head, man, you can put them in your head to try to help you and make you smart, like history, economics, the great works of literature, the meaning of the U.S. Constitution. If you studied in high school like me, but you didn't really study because you were in the back flirting and playing around, then it's never too late to learn, because our sponsor, Hillsdale College, is offering more than 40 free, that's right, free online courses, including some of the ones that I mentioned, and then the rise and fall of the Roman Republic and a brand new documentary style course on Marxism, socialism, and communism. All right. All of Hillsdale courses are self-paced so that you can start whenever and tune in whenever. Plus, you get to go deeper with readings, quizzes, discussions, and enjoy the lectures. Go right now to hillsdale.edu/lockedon to enroll. There's no cost. It's easy to get started. That's hillsdale.edu/lockedon to register. I'll spell it for you. hillsdale.edu/lockedon. All right, third final segment here on Locked On NFL, where it's your team every day. We thank you for making us your first listener, reminding you can tap into Locked On NFL over at Amazon Music. Make sure you check that out. Well, we get to the part of the show where we have to, you got to spread the wealth, man. You can't always talk about playoff teams and successful teams. Sometimes misery also earns good ratings, and misery describes the New York Giants and the New York Jets. First, the New York Giants and my girl, Patricia Traynor. Check this out.
New York Giants quarterback Daniel Jones has requested and received his release from the team. Jones met with team co-owner John Mara on Friday morning, at which point the release was mutually agreed to. In a statement released by the team, Mara praised Jones's professionalism, saying, quote, "Daniel has been a great representative of our organization, first class in every way. We are all disappointed in how things have worked out. We hold Daniel in the highest regard and have a great appreciation for him. We wish nothing but the best in the future," end quote. The announcement, which comes a little less than 24 hours after the bench quarterback gave a farewell press conference and said he was still trying to process what had been an emotionally charged week for him and the franchise, will collect the rest of his guaranteed salary this season while he ponders his next move. He will be free to sign as a free agent with another team once he clears waivers.
Shout out to Daniel Jones, too. I'm going to give him some grace and some credit for how professional he has been. It is not an athlete's fault if he's just not as good as people thought he was going to be. I'm going to tell you right now, and it kind of angers me a little bit that we can't draw a line of demarcation between a guy who just wasn't as good. He didn't force anybody to give him a contract. He got it. He did his absolute best. That wasn't good enough. But he didn't lose respect to people. He did not come to work. He did not try his hardest. So anybody that kind of picks at him and criticizes him, to me, is a little bit petty. Now that I've said that, the Giants are a hot mess. And they're the same team that let go of Saquon Barkley. By the way, that wasn't Daniel Jones's fault either. And I like Brian Daboll as a coach. It's something about this whole team build that bothers me a little bit. And right now, New York is a good place to be good. But Kevin, it's a horrible place to be bad.
No, it's the worst place to be bad. There's no market like it. And for Daniel Jones, I mean, it's refreshing to see the Giants actually gave him multiple opportunities. I don't think we see that enough anymore in today's league with these younger quarterbacks. And while I personally wanted to sign with the extension that the Giants did, I wouldn't have gone that far.
No,
I mean, they believed in their guy after a good season, and you can't necessarily fault them for that. Now, it was a lot of money. Probably wouldn't have paid them all that money. But at the same time, this is a team that just feels like it cannot get over the hump. And it feels like it's not like, oh, it's the hump between semi-good team and contender. No, they're still at the bottom here. And they bring in talent like guys like Malik Neighbors, for example, who's going to be a heck of a player. He already is a heck of a player in this league. But then you have some of their other younger draft picks that just aren't panning out. Evan Neal has been pretty disappointing. And, you have other players where it's either they make the wrong decisions personnel-wise. Brian Daboll, in my opinion, probably should have been gone last offseason, but here he is, and now he's going to definitely be gone this season. So it's like they're trying, but I think the plan that they have is, and not even just Saquon Wig, but they let Xavier McKinney go to Green Bay as well, who was an incredible player. And it's like you draft these talented guys, they're homegrown talent, and who are you paying instead? Well, not Daniel Jones anymore. And those guys are now on two NFC rivals, one of them being in your division. So it's a hot mess, and they have these high draft picks every season, and they still can't get out of it. And players don't want to play there. It's just it's a whole bad situation.
All right, so let me make Kevin Ostriker the hot coach. You're Ben Johnson, right? You're Ben Johnson.
Oh, all right.
Or you're Ian Cunningham. You're like the hot GM everybody's talking about, or the hot coach. I give you a choice of jobs. The pay is the exact same. You can coach the Giants or you can go coach the Jets, but you got to choose one of them. Which one and why? Look at him taking that deep breath. You got time. We can record all day. I know it's going to take you a minute to think.
All right, let's go. We'll set that ticker. Will hit an hour. I'll still be thinking. As weird as it is to say, and
look at you said as weird as it is to say it, and then you go, well, yeah, but I ain't gonna say that. So I got to think of
because I was gonna say the Jets, and then I remembered Woody Johnson is the owner, and that's a big deal because it feels like he has a lot of the say in a lot of these decisions, even though the Jets are saying he doesn't. And I feel like the Giants, it's less invasive in that way. So I think while the Jets might be a more attractive, well, now I can't even say that because they're losing all their guys and their defense isn't as good. Can I say neither? Can I say neither?
No, you got to pick. Let me help you out. I'm gonna go coach the Giants because at least they won.
I think I will too. I think
the Jets won in 68 or 6. I was born in 69. The Jets ain't won nothing since I've been a kid, or maybe before I was born. So no, I ain't going with them. I'm gonna coach the Giants because at least I've seen Big Blue win within the last decade, and I'm gonna just go and hope that maybe there's some kind of mojo that'll help me do that. But both of those New York teams in a bad place. Shout out to the New York fans for braving that and putting up with it, man. I'm telling you, it is rough. It's also rough if you don't listen to Locked On NFL, which is everywhere you get podcasts every single day, and it also comes on twice. Tyler Rowland early in the morning, the madman will slap you upside your head, man, and give you a double shot of espresso, and then I'll slide through in the barbershop and give you a little bit of humor, a little bit of guests and guys that can't pick jobs in New York if you gave them an opportunity. They don't want to do that. So
who wouldn't be able to do that? Who wouldn't be able to
I know it, right? Make sure you tap into Locked On NFL, man. Also hit up Locked On Ravens. Check out the latest with Kevin Ostriker. He'll be here every Tuesday, but if you don't want to wait till Tuesday, make sure you check that out. Happy Thanksgiving to you, Kev. I hope you feel better, man.
Happy Thanksgiving. Appreciate you.
All right, y'all take care. We'll see you next time here on Locked On NFL.